Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen. Greetings, old school magic players. Welcome to the Four Horsemen on a Monday night. Tonight, we're going to be covering some Four Horsemen tournament number 18 semifinals matches. I'm here with my loyal co-commentator, John Eccleberry. Evening, John.
How's it going?
We're back at it again, and we're going to be wrapping up the last semifinals match for tournament 18. This has been a really fun and interesting tournament over the winter. FourHorsemenMagic.com is the Four Horsemen Old School Magic Players Group website, and check us out. We're focused on the first 4 expansions of Magic the Gathering. We have a really unique Banner Restricted that allows basic lands, dual lands, all the cards from the first 4 expansions, and the Banner Restricted that you see here. This tournament was a 5-week tournament, and we're actually in the last week of it now, wrapping up the semifinals matches. We give away some great prizes that both John and I have put together for the community, and if you play in our events, you can win any of these cool free prizes, including the Guardian Beast playmats and these cool tokens. John, you were going to get me some updated graphics for these, so we can showcase the Fallen Angels and some of the new cool stuff you did. I'll be happy to get those into the next video.
The newer one, for sure.
Yeah. And of course, the Ken Meyer Jr. Guardian Beast Purple Moonlight playmat made specifically for the Four Horsemen. Really cool playmat for our first place winners. So check us out. FourHorsemenMagic.com. Tournament number 19 will be coming up here pretty soon. And you can win this awesome playmat for free by taking down first. All right, John, let's get into the brackets. We've got John DeProse and Lucas Santos in our match for tonight. Both Australian guys. And John, you know, we've seen an explosion in Australia with Four Horsemen. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. It's really it's humbling and fun to see that somebody on the other side of the world just saw what you were doing on YouTube and was like, "That's cool. I want some of that." And now there's a whole bunch of them playing, and they even played Four Horsemen locally in their group there.
Yeah, it really is pretty cool. It started with Lucas Santos, who stumbled on the Four Horsemen group through YouTube, and then he's recruited about 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 other players. We've had a whole bunch of them join the Facebook group, and then like John mentioned, they did an in-person. I think they've done a couple of in-person events since then, where they're playing Four Horsemen along with several other old school formats. So it's really cool to see the community growing and expanding. We've also had a bunch of folks from Europe and UK join us, including Jacob Monk and Knut Andreas Holt. So it's really cool to see Four Horsemen expanding internationally. For the match tonight, we have 2 very spicy brews. Lucas Santos is playing Underworld Djinns on the left here, and John DeProse is playing a mono green Stompy deck, something we've not yet seen in Four Horsemen at all. John, what do you think? Just the overview here before we get into the deck text. These are 2 very different brews, and one is completely new to Four Horsemen.
We've seen black green before, although this is a slightly different spin on it, I think. But we have seen some black green decks. We have some dedicated black green players like Mike Clements, and if you go further back, Michael Scheffnecker's played it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Mesa won with a black green robots list back in tournament 4.
Right.
But the Banner Restricted was a bit different then. But this mono green deck I'm loving, because it seems like somebody would have done this already. I mean, we're 18 tournaments in,
yeah,
and I think this is the first time that we've seen a mono green deck, or at least the first time we've seen one do well.
Right.
This deck is great. I mean, we'll get to the deck photo, but there's 36 creatures in this deck. Like, it's just beef. It's like, it's crazy. Coming at you.
Yeah, it's really wild. I mean, it's pretty crazy that. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into these deck photos. So first, let's cover Lucas's deck. As John mentioned, black-green has been an attractive staple of Four Horsemen for quite a while, because of cards like Oubliette, Jusum Djinn, the Kumbaj Witches, the Dark Elves, the Elves of Deep Shadow. There's a lot of good reasons to play black in Four Horsemen, and green is also extremely versatile in terms of things like, you know, access to artifact destruction, quick heavy hitters like Argothian Pixies, the Dark Elves, the help you mana ramp, and of course Sylvan Library. So, John, what do you think of this unique kind of take on black-green Underworld Djinns by Lucas?
He's playing a lot of the staple cards that I would want to see in this kind of list. You know, he's playing the Angels and the Djinns and the Oubliettes, like you mentioned. These are all really good, solid black cards. You know, obviously the Elves lend themselves to these two colors. Underworld Dreams is a card that I think is really solid, that doesn't see a ton of play only because of the triple black commitment, and we haven't seen really much mono black. We have seen some black-white control decks that play it, but I like that he's playing it in an aggro shell, so that he's really using it as his reach. You know, if he can beat in with these other creatures and then seal the deal with an Underworld Dream, that's pretty good for him.
Yeah, it's a really cool brew, and I think it's versatile. I like these 2-ofs. You know, I'm always tempted to do 4-ofs in every deck. You know, if it's a good card, it's worth playing 4, right? Well, Lucas has got an interesting strategy with doing 2-ofs on things like Scavenger Folks, just so he can have some artifact destruction. We see decks will run away with things when they have an Ivory Tower, or they have a Jaloom Tome early in the match, or you get an early factory you can't deal with. So the Scavenger Folk are so functional, you don't need 4 of them necessarily. Having a couple of them or a couple crumbles can be, absolutely mandatory with the meta in the Four Horsemen right now. And then the couple of Pixies, a couple of the Elves of Deep Shadows, Sylvan Library and Dark Heart of the Wood, both restricted. Then he's got a couple of Demonic Torments. I thought that was an interesting combo because he's running 2 Oubliettes and 2 Demonic Torments instead of 4 Oubliettes. What do you think's up with that, John?
Well, Torment is, better in some situations and worse in others. I think it's great against things like Serendipity Freed or Jusum Djinn, where you just turn it into a one-sided copper tablet,
right?
Instead of exiling it. Although the downside, of course, is that they have this blocker that can still kill stuff. I mean, a Jusum, if you put it on like a 4/5 or a 5/5, it's still a pretty big thing that can block without dying. But it's interesting because sometimes it's good. Sometimes you do want to freeze something on their board and just keep it there. Oubliette, on the other hand, is just going to remove the thing from play, which is probably what you want to do most of the time.
Yeah, and I do like that, right? The Serendip Afrits, the Jusum Djinns, the Serendip Djinns. There's a bunch of creatures out there that putting the Demonic Torment on them would be way worse for your opponent than the Oubliette. So I do think that's an interesting strategy, and both of them kind of, deal with the creature in one way or the other. Then he's got the Kumbaj Witches, which that's a card that John and I both love. A 1/3 for 2 black that can tap and deal a damage, and those witches are really, really, really good as a cheap, low-cost, versatile creature early. He's got 2 blights there. That's also a spicy card that's gaining a little traction in Four Horsemen to deal with things like Pendlehaven or Diamond Valley or Mazavith or Mistress Factory or any of these utility lands, Island of Whack Whack. There's so many versatile and cool lands in Four Horsemen that have utility, and we only have the 1 strip mine and just you know, the Desert Twisters and things like that, Blood Moon. There's not a ton of land destruction in Four Horsemen, although there is a bit. And the Blight is a cheap option that's not quite as overpowered as Sinkhole, but still allows you to deal with, you know, these utility lands once they're used. So I really like these 2-ofs. There's an Ashes to Ashes and a couple of Fallen Angels, 3 Jusum Djinns instead of 4, and then of course the 4 Urnums and the 4 Underworld Dreams. John, what do you think about Underworld Dreams?
Oh, it's fantastic. I think it's a really somewhat underplayed card in this format. Although I guess we have seen it in mostly control shells, but I kind of like it here in the aggro build as well.
Yeah. The other cards across the top, he's playing Fountain of Youth, which I thought was very interesting. Fountain of Youth is a card that I know as a kid I always played with. Gaining life back in the day was still a thing. And in Four Horsemen, life gain is a huge part of the competitive strategy in the meta right now. So what do you think about him running that Fountain of Youth?
Well, people might look at it and go, oh, well, that card's not that good, or what's the point of only playing one? But it kind of leans into the strategy of the 2-ofs that you were talking about. You know, like he has 3 life gain cards in his deck. They're all different, but they all have that effect. And so, like, he's got a Diamond Valley, and he's got the Fountain, and then he has a Dark Heart of the Woods. So he's got, like, you know, flexible options to try to stay in the game if it comes down to it. You know, gaining just, you know, 3 life off of a Dark Heart even sometimes can swing a game enough, you know, to make the difference. Or, you know, maybe he gets down and he can't play that Ashes to Ashes, but then suddenly he can, because he just sacks a forest to gain some life, and then he can use it and then turn the game around. You know, he's built a pretty interesting list here. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. The Triskelions, we've talked a lot about how powerful Triskelion is in the format. And then, of course, the Factory, the Maze of Ith, the Diamond Valley, and the 2 Pendlehavens. Those are functional, too, for pumping his 1/1s. So, yeah, really nicely balanced, very well thought out deck by Lucas. No surprise that he's made it into the semifinals with this. Down on the bottom, he's got in the sideboard a couple Crumbles, a Mirror Universe, a 4th Triskelion. Looks like a couple Suchis, a couple of Clockworks, a couple of Drops of Honey. We're seeing Drop of Honey everywhere. The Greed, which is now restricted. The Storm Seeker, which is spicy. And then 3 Desert Twisters. So I really like Lucas's sideboard. It's very versatile. And he's got a lot of answers to swap things in and out that he knows he's going to run into in the meta. Okay, let's take a look at John DePro's deck. Mono Green Stompy. Here it is, John. 30, what did you say it was? 36 creatures?
36 creatures and more in the sideboard.
And
just
more
beat them over the head.
Yeah, 40
Just
creatures.
beat them over the head. That's it. There's no tricks here.
Yeah.
There's no instants. There's no sorceries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few in the sideboard in case he really needs them against somebody, but mostly it's just like play dudes, turn them sideways.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys in the groups called this the big green dumb deck, or the big dumb green deck. Like, it's just
yeah. Well, you know what? If it gets the job done, it gets the job done. I mean, you have to be able to. What I say to that when I hear comments like that is I say, well, you got to be able to beat it. Right? Like, you know, people will complain about certain strategies. You know, I'm a person that plays, you know, burn at big tournaments, partly because I like to eat lunch, you know? Like, I don't want to go to time. Right. I want to have time to, like, go to the booths and talk to people and hang out with my friends and do whatever. And so I like fast decks, but, like, you know, people are like, oh, well, that's just, you know, 40 of the same card. It's just like, that's not even fun. And it's like, well, you have to be able to beat it. Like, it exists in the meta. So, like, you know, what are you going to do about it? And in a format like this, where there's no, like, real sweepers, I mean, we have a couple, but they're not great. Like, there's Hellfire, which, you know, Lucas isn't playing, and there's Inferno, I guess.
Yeah, Pyrotechnics to some degree.
But there's nothing like Wrath of God or anything.
Right.
And so you look at a list like this, and even if City in a Bottle was legal, like there's not a bunch of Arabian creatures here. There are some, but not a ton. Like this list is pretty beefy. It just runs out dudes and smacks you in the face with them.
Yeah. What I think is fascinating about this is, like you pointed out, we're on tournament 18, and we've seen a ton of decks over I think we've had 6 different versions of the BNR over that time, and we've done 4 or 5 spice events as well, and like the format's really gone through its kind of stages and phases, and a lot of different players have played and tried different kinds of brews. And you're right, we've never seen a mono green Stompy with straight up 36 creatures and no spells. It's just like,
yeah, it's bonkers, but I love it. I mean, you could add red to have reach or whatever, but it kind of dilutes the potency and the curve. Like I think the real strength of something like this is that he's never really gonna be off curve. Like he's just gonna play a 1-drop and then play a 2-drop and then play a 1-drop and a 2-drop and maybe 2 2-drops or a 4-drop. Like he's always, that's all that's gonna be in his hand. Like I mean, certainly you can get unlucky and maybe you can like flood out or something. But most games that he plays, he's just gonna be jamming dudes left and right.
Yeah. So
and it's hard to keep up with that, because if you're playing a deck that's even a little bit slower, like I played a blue deck for a long time in this format that had a bunch of 4-drops in it, right? And if you're not doing anything for the first couple of turns, and your opponent gets like 4 creatures out before you land something, like it's a real problem.
Yes, yeah, it sure is, and especially if he gets something out that you can't deal with easily, like killer bees, because. And when I first looked at this, I was thinking, like, where's his Jaloom Tomes, right? Because he's going to want Jaloom Tomes to once he gets to 4 mana, he doesn't need any more forests, and he's going to want to ditch those forests to draw more dudes. But then I was like, oh, but he's got killer bees, and he can keep playing other dudes and pump his bees if he's got more mana. So,
Yeah, having a mana sink's real nice. It would almost be nice if there was like a second one. But Killer Bees is a good one because it has evasion. So, if they've already wasted the removal on X, Y, and Z because they're getting their face beat in, and then you drop a Killer Bees and finish them off that way, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
I also really like things like Pendelhaven and Mazavith here because it allows him to play tricks in a deck that doesn't have many of them.
Mm-hmm.
It allows him to swing with everything and then like maze whatever they block, or swing with everything and screw up their combat math with a Pendelhaven. It's pretty good. I really like this strategy. I like how in your face it is. If he comes up against a deck that he needs those sideboard cards for, like the crumbles, he has that room to take stuff out. And he has so many creatures that it's probably not even that hard to sideboard if you need to. Like, I mean, you could drop, those Gazman Ogres pretty easily if you're, up against a deck with Chain Lightnings, or you could drop, really any of the 1 or 2 drops that you don't feel like is very good in whatever matchup you're in. But man, those 4 Whirling Dervishes are gonna go a long way against Lucas's mostly black deck, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and a lot of people have kind of criticized Dervish and some of the other brews. But if you've got somebody who's playing Abyss, or you've got somebody who's playing Jusums and whatnot, running black, those Dervishes are going to go wild. Now, Lucas is playing Triskelion, so he's got some answers for Dervish, but there's only 3 of those Triskelions main, so
and the Triskelion costs 6, right? Like, right. The Dervish is like a low investment, potential high yield card. I mean, it's only 2 green. Like, it's not like it costs you like an arm and a leg to get it out. But if it's left unchecked, it starts to get real big.
And if you've got that Pendelhaven, and John's got 3 of them, so he's going to have Pendelhaven quite often. The Dervish is almost guaranteed to be a 2/3 the first time it attacks. So that makes a difference in it getting in its damage. And then, the other spicy cards, I mean, Urnham Djinns in every deck. Scavenger Folk's been around. the Elves of Deep Shadow and the Argothian Pixies, but the Wailuli Wolf was making a big show in early Four Horsemen days, and he's kind of faded into the background, and here he is. The Wailuli Wolf in this deck could be absolutely.
Oh, I mean, this is the deck that card wants to be in, right? Because that deck, that card shines by screwing up combat math and, you know, pumping whatever's most advantageous. The more guys you got on the board, the better that card is. And like, this is the deck. This is the deck to play that card, right? And also, this is a great deck for something like Scavenger Folk, because, you know, Scavenger Folk is a staple of old school magic. It's a 1/1 for 1 that has a relevant ability that also only costs 1. Super cheap. It's a great card. It's both a threat and a spell, basically. You know, and when you pair that with like Pendelhaven and Wolf, even it can be a card that can, you know, trade with something or can get in more damage or whatever. Yeah. It's a damage delivery system just like everything else.
Right. And then moving on to the right here on the top row, the Spitting Slug. This card, also from John's favorite set, the Dark. This is a 2/4 for 3 mana, and you pay 1 and a green, and your opponent can play 1 and a green, and their creatures can get first strike if they don't pay it. So it's an interesting card. It's got a little bit of a slight potential drawback, but that's not very relevant most of the time. And you get a 2/4 for 3 mana, and with those wolves,
it's a really weird, mostly irrelevant ability that does not outweigh the fact that, like you said, it's a 2/4 for 3.
Yeah. Let me pull it up real quick, because this is a card that I think a lot of people may not be familiar with. And Spitting Slug. Let me just pull it up on Gatherer here real quick. Spitting Slug. Now this was reprinted in Time Spiral.
Okay. I actually bought some Time Spiral ones recently just because they were really cheap.
Alright, so I've got the Spitting Slug up here now. And yeah, so its ability is, the errata on it is, whenever Spitting Slug blocks or becomes blocked, you may pay 1 in green. If you do, Spitting Slug gains first strike until the end of turn. So he can be a 2/4 first striker if you pay the 1 in green. Otherwise, if you don't pay the 1 in green, each creature blocking or blocked by Spitting Slug gains first strike. So if you've got a lot of extra mana, which this green deck will have, this guy can be a 2/4 first striker for just a couple mana more. And that allows John to be able to pump extra mana into it and make it first striking. If he could also Wailuli Wolf it, it could potentially be a 3/5 first striker. And if he gets double Wailuli Wolves, it can be a 5/6 first striker, which could be crazy.
Yeah.
Spitting Slug. Pretty cool. The other card here is the Emerald Dragonfly. Now this is a card that we all remember from childhood Magic days, reprinted in Chronicles. Here's the Chronicles version here. The original from Legends, so many of the old school players remember this card. But this is also a potential first striker, right? This card can, it flies, and you pay double green, and it's first strike. So you got the Wailuli Wolves, you got the Pendelhavens, and then you got the ability here to make him first strike as well. So he could potentially be a 2/3 first striker from the Pendelhaven and a 3/4 first striker from the Wailuli Wolf.
Yeah, I mean that seems pretty good. And also it just has evasion, right? So like it's another way to chip in damage. You know, there's not a ton of flying. I mean, we do see kind of like some all flying decks, right? Like the blue decks where they just try to jam a bunch of X4 flyers, but inside of that, you know, if he goes up against like another aggro deck or he goes up against a deck like Lucas's deck, I don't think Lucas has, I guess he's got Fallen Angels, right? But he doesn't have a whole lot of other stuff in the air. So something like that coming in every turn and coming in early and often, you know, could just get there.
Yeah, really could be a pivotal part of the strategy here. The last card I wanted to pull up here is the Gasman Ogre. Gasman Ogre, a card from Arabian Nights. Never really well. Let's see. It was reprinted in Chronicles, and it was reprinted in Masters Edition, and also in 5th edition. But this guy is really interesting. He's a 2/2 for 1 green, and his errata is at the beginning of your upkeep. If a player has more life than each other player, the player with the most life gains control of Gasman Ogre. So if this guy comes out on turn 1 and you don't have an answer for it, he's going to hit you on turn 2 for at least 2 damage, and you've got the life advantage right there with just that. So this guy could be a powerhouse, but he could switch teams, and your opponent can gain control if they get more life. So I've always loved the Gasman Ogre, but he's been risky in some of the other Four Horsemen decks. Like, I think he's shown up in some blue-green decks in the early Four Horsemen days, and he, along with Serendib Afreet, he's both good and potentially risky.
I like that in this list, he's like, ooh, this card might be risky. Well, I'll just play 3 instead of 4. And I'll put the 4th one in the sideboard.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Like, you know, if they don't have like direct damage, if they don't have chain lightnings in their deck, he's probably bringing in number 4 in game 2. You know, and also it makes an easy sideboard slot. Like, if he needs to take those out, he can put in, you know, he can put in those other 2 creatures in the sideboard, or he can bring in some of those spells if he thinks he needs them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so it's just really cool to see this card showing up here. The Killer Bees. Let me pull up the Killer Bees because I just love these guys. This card is such a cool card. Also very sidewalk childhood magic reminiscent here. Also another Legends card, and it was reprinted. But, you know, these guys are 0/1 flyers that can get +1/+1 for 1 green. So another potential heavy hitter in the air that could really swing the game in John's favor. Love these bees. Okay, so let's take a look at his sideboard, and then we can get into the matches. I love seeing the Avoid Fates. I've become a very big fan of Avoid Fate by playing Four Horsemen. Especially in these mono green, blue green, red green blue type decks. This card can you know, there's not a lot of instance in Four Horsemen, but this card in particular, it can counter Boomerang, it can counter any creature enchantment. What do you think about his inclusion of Avoid Fate, John?
I mean, it's pretty cool if they try to, like, you know, Spirit Link your Erm and you can stop that, or try to remove it and you can stop that, or same thing with, you know, whatever creature's getting them, the Killer Bees or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's in this deck, it seems pretty relevant because if he brings it in, he's almost always going to have a target for it because he's got so many creatures in this deck, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be a lot of times where it's just sitting in his hand. I also noticed that Asp in the sideboard, that's a card that I would have considered as one of my main board creatures, because I think that card's pretty good too, because it makes them, it does damage, and then it makes them take another one if they don't pay 1 during their upkeep, and a lot of times they don't want to, because they have stuff to do. They want to try to develop their own game, so it ends up being a 2 damage card a lot of times, and it's almost good enough to be, you know, to be a card that he would be playing here. I see that he's not, but I'm also looking at all these other creatures saying, yeah, I can see why he picked all of those over that one. Like, there's just, it's funny because if you look at a color like red, for instance, like, there's a real shortage of creatures in some of the slots. Like, there's not really any good 2-drop to play in Four Horsemen for red. But then you look at a color like green, which I guess it's fine because green's really creature based, but there's so many good green creatures that he's not even playing all of them. He's playing a deck that has 36 creatures in it, and he's not playing some of the good creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the Asp was a card that showed up earlier too, because it can just get in, you know, make them lose 1 more life if they don't pay that mana. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see that one of in there, and might be really good against you know, another really aggro deck that's going to want to tie up its mana. The last card from the sideboard, I mean, Crumble, destroy an artifact that, you know, in the a controller gains life equal to that casting cost. Those are in there because of Ivory Tower and a bunch of other stuff, and also for things like Mistress Factory. But there's one card here I want to take a look at, and that is the Sword of the Ages. We've seen this only a very few times in some of the Four Horsemen decks, but it's making a reappearance here in the sideboard. What do you think about John including John DeProse including the Sword of the Ages in his deck?
Well, again, this is kind of the deck that wants that card, right? Because he has so many guys, and there's not really any major sweepers. So, like, it's a way to have one big coup de grace. Like, if he has a big board full of dudes, he can just attack you with them all, and then he can just fling them all at you and take you out. Like, I mean, we've banned, Moat and any other kind of cards that would really, really, like, slow this deck down. But even if that card existed, like, that would be a way around it. You could say, oh, well, I've got all these dudes, and I'm just going to throw them at your face.
Yeah, there's a lot of rook eggs and a lot of big flying blue robot-type blockers. You've played some decks like that. So, this sword, if the game goes long and it gets into a stalemate, he can play Sword of the Ages and sacrifice it and sacrifice any number of creatures that he controls, and the Sword of the Ages will deal X damage to any target, where X is the total power of the creature sacrificed this way, and then exile Sword of the Ages and those creatures. This has no delay. It's not like Mirror Universe. He doesn't have to wait.
It comes into play tap, though, doesn't it?
Oh yes, that's right. It comes into play tap, but during his
so I mean, there is a little bit of a window there.
You're right.
For
you're right.
To disenchant it or whatever. Well, not disenchant, but crumble it or scavenger folk it or Shatterstorm or whatever they got.
You have one player's turn to deal with it. So I guess it is kind of like Mirror Universe, where it's if you don't have something in your turn, then it's going to be game next turn. So it's pretty powerful. So I really like seeing that in John DeProse's sideboard. All right, John, I think we've done a pretty thorough review of these two creative decks: Lucas Santos Underworld Djinns and John DeProse Mono Green Stompy. We are ready to get into the match. Okay, let me switch over here. All right, John, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right, on the count of three. One. Now, we are playing at 1.5, right? 1.5, yep, okay.
Yep.
All right, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. All right, the guys are shuffling up here. Lucas Santos is on the left with the darker mat, and we've got John DeProse on the right. Now, neither John and I have seen this match. Some of the matches we commented on, we had recorded them. So we've not seen this match. We've heard that it's a good one. And Chris Holzenbach from our Australia crew, since both John and Lucas are in Australia, Chris recorded this for us, so John and I didn't have to be up at 3 in the morning, which was always a nice thing. Okay, so the guys are doing 6 piles and doing the die roll, which is pretty nice. More randomization. And did you catch who won the roll, John?
I didn't. I missed it. I was looking at something else, but I will see in a second here. Yeah, it's interesting that they did the 6 pile thing. It's I guess you started something with that when you started doing that in tournament 17.
Yeah, it's a nice way to randomize things, and it's a little more random than just the typical 3 piles. Okay, John DeProse looks like he won the roll, but he did not get a first turn creature. Go figure.
No 1-drop.
No
I guess he's
one-drop.
gonna have to bring some more in from the sideboard. Oh, there's a 2-drop though.
Okay,
There's one of those Emerald Dragonflies.
There comes the dragonflies. Yep.
I mean, there's probably not too many instances where he wants to mulligan with that deck unless he just has too many lands in his hand. because most of his hands are going to look pretty similar. So as long as he's jamming a dude, you know, every turn from here on out. I mean, Witches is pretty good against his deck, though.
Witches is very good against his deck. That is not a card that John wants to see right here.
Slug, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, turn 3 Slug. Witches can't do much about that. So if you're Lucas, what are you thinking here, John?
I don't know. He's just figuring out how he can stay ahead of the game, and I'm not sure that he can. So, like, he's probably... Oh, he's got a book. Well, you know, that's something. I mean, on one hand, book's great, but on the other hand, it does nothing the turn that you play it. And if he wants to loot next turn, it'll do nothing that turn either. So, like, that feels really bad against a deck that's going to be beating you in the face. He's also got a Pendelhaven now, so, like, he can't ping the Dragonfly with the Witches, because he'll just use the Pendelhaven to save it. So, this is not a great place to be. He could have blocked the Slug with the Witches. I don't know what he thinks John has, but he could have blocked that because the Witches has 3 toughness. I don't know.
Well, turn 4 Urnum coming down for John. That's pretty heavy duty. So turn 2 Dragonfly, turn 3 Slug, turn 4 Urnum.
So I feel like with him tapped out, he should kill the Dragonfly at end of turn.
Definitely.
Oh, he does. Okay, good.
Yeah, smart move.
And I guess that's why he didn't want to block, because then he'd have to do it. I don't know. There's an Urnum on his side. So this is shaping up to be a lot more fair than I thought it would be. Because he survived those first few early turns, and now they've just both got 4/5s out.
Right.
They're going to be giving each other Forest Walk.
Yeah, they're each going to be getting Forest Walk to somebody. So, you know, the tricky thing here is the double Urnums on both sides. Lucas has removal. He's got Oubliettes, at least a couple of them, and then he's got those 2 Demonic Torments. So Lucas will have some type of removal at some point, but John just has pure, you know, creature aggro here, and now he's down to 1 card in hand as well, where Lucas has 5.
Yeah.
Or does he? 4?
He shows 5 on his dice there, but I don't know. I haven't been paying like super close attention to his hand. So I don't know. Does he have maybe like a piece of removal here, or? I mean, that Witches is also good for breaking up the Urnum stalemate. I guess it could make the Urnums kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that kind of is not as good as just killing the opposing Urnum. Because he'd be able to send the extra damage from the Witches back. I don't know. So this is like what you were talking about. This is another situation where, oh well.
Oh yeah, playing those killer bees, playing the killer bees straight into a mat where the Kumbash Witches are there.
When you can't pump it, yeah. Because I was looking at the killer bees thinking, well, that's going to be real good if it lives. But then he just, you know, he didn't have anything left to pump it. Oh, Ashes to Ashes is so good.
Oh, wow. Ashes to Ashes.
Look at that.
Brutal. Yeah.
So suddenly we go from a game where somebody had a bunch of dudes out to a game where he's firmly in command of this game now.
Yeah. I mean, he had to lose 5 life, but he got rid of the...
Yeah, but who cares? John's out of cards for the most. He has 1 card left in his hand, and he just drew 1, so he has 2.
Yeah, and those 2 should be removed. He put them in his graveyard, but those will be exiled from his graveyard, and bringing Lucas down to, I guess he's down to what, 15? Or is he down
16,
to... No, it's
16 for John and 11 for
11
Lucas.
for Lucas, right. So his life is a bit lower, but he'll be able to deal with it. So he takes 2.
And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and attack me for 1. Who cares?
Right.
He is leaving the Pendlehaven up to shield it from the witches. Because he lost so many other things. Man, playing that Killer Bees into the witches with no mana up was really bad.
Yeah, and you know, that's the one limitation of Killer Bees. They really should have been a 1/1 flyer, but they're a 0/1, and you can't pump them with Pendlehaven.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah. But even he was even tapped out with that. He had everything tapped. I mean, him having an Urnum there was pretty good. I mean, it's about as good of an answer as he could draw.
Oh, there's that
At
strip
the same
mine.
Time, yeah, one of the strip mine comes down and hits that Pendlehaven.
Boy, we keep seeing how absolutely critical and pivotal strip mine is in these games.
It is still an immensely powerful card at 1 of. You know, I say every time I see something like that happen, I just point to the banned and restricted list and be like, don't cry about cards being restricted. Like, you can still play them and they can still win games.
Yeah.
I mean, one of Sylvan Library can still win games if it comes down early. It just doesn't happen as often.
Right. Well, John did get his second Urnum, and
look at that Fallen Angel that came down too, though. Like, now that's really gonna like pull ahead in the air. I don't think the Urnum is that great when there's an Urnum on the other side.
No, he has to give Forest Walk to somebody, and yeah, normally you give it to something that's not going to attack, but in this case, I guess he'd probably give the Forest Walk to the witches. Okay.
Yeah, he'd give it to the witches because it's not going to end. So and I'm sure he gave his Forest Walk to the dragonfly that he just killed.
So Lucas here is just killing the dragonfly with the witches. Now, who's he dealing with?
It's funny, I was looking at the deck list and thinking that Lucas was going to have a hard time with that deck, but man, he has really pulled it out in this first game. He's just really smashing face.
Well, the Ashes
his
to
removal
Ashes
spells have been really clutch. That card's so good.
Yeah.
And he's only playing 1 of them, right? So, like, it was fortuitous to draw that when he did.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's not looking too good for John DeProse here. You know, he hasn't seen his Dervish, and he's lost his Pendlehaven. He got a factory now, but now he's got this 3/3 flying, potentially 5 flying, potentially more. He's already down to 11, so Lucas has already evened this game up almost. It's a 1-point difference now, and that.
The silver lining here, I think, is that like you can't be that tilted when you lose a game like this because his deck is doing what it's supposed to do. It's playing a bunch of creatures. Lucas has had answers for a lot of them, but his deck's functioning perfectly fine. It's slamming a creature every turn. I think that Fallen Angel is going to be what ends up closing out the game, though.
Yeah, that Fallen Angel is... I mean, look at how much damage. He could get in for... There's no flyers now, so he could just get in for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... He can get in for 9 damage right now in the air without...
Yeah, and he could ping him before he does it, so he could get in for 10. He can't quite kill him this turn. He could... But, you know, he could... He'll be dead next turn, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And, you know, having seen each other's lists, he knows that John doesn't have any removal. So, like, he can't do anything about that Fallen Angel. He doesn't have, you know, wouldn't it be nice if he had, like, a Hurricane or something? But that's not a card that exists in Four Horsemen. So.
Well, there is Winter's Blast, which is actually the art theme for this tournament. Which taps a flying creature and does 2 damage to it.
That felt a little premature to me. He's just gonna finish him that way. That's why.
So
that's why he did it. He's just gonna kill him with Trike.
Right, there we go.
Boom.
Death by Trike. So he gets in with all the damage from the pumping the angel, and then he finishes him off with Triskelion. All right, so let's let this play and let's jump.
He could have played the Trike before combat and shot him for 3, and then sacked the Trike for an extra 2 damage to the angel. He didn't need it, but he could have gotten 2 extra damage in that way.
All right, let's jump over to John DePro's mono green Stompy deck and let's see what what is he going to sideboard here? What do you think, John? Obviously,
not much.
That one extra whirling
I don't think he really
dervish.
wants the crumbles, and I don't necessarily think he wants maybe he plays the avoid fates just to try to keep his big guys out.
Well, because there are oubliettes. There are oubliettes, and there are those demonic torments. But he also needs that other dervish, and he's gonna need those flyers, but they're not great with the Pendlehaven, the killer bees. So I don't know. I think, man, the pixies are not great here because Lucas has green creatures and black creatures. So I might sideboard out those pixies, put in the extra whirling dervish, and then maybe 3 avoid fates.
Yeah, that sounds like a fine plan. I mean, if he wants to speed up his game and bring in the extra 1-drops, he can also try to do that. But I don't know necessarily what you would want to side out for them. I don't think the pixies are very good against.
Yeah, they're really not. I mean,
Lucas's deck at all. So I mean, those could probably just come out.
Yeah. Let's see, what are the guys doing? They're still shuffling up. Okay, so let's look at Lucas's deck real quick along the bottom here. What does Lucas sideboard in? Does he sideboard in anything? He doesn't really need those crumbles. He doesn't really need his scavenger folk, so he might sideboard his scavenger folk out and maybe sideboard in something a little more.
Does he bring in the drop of honeys to kill off all the little guys while he just has one fatty out? I think he probably does.
Yeah, I
think the drop of honeys come in, and I think maybe the Suchis come in place of. I don't know. He doesn't really have more expensive options to side out against it, but something like Underworld Djinns doesn't seem that pivotal in this matchup. You want things that are going to either block creatures or remove creatures. So, like, I think maybe he could take out the Dreams and bring in the 2 Suchis and the 2 drops and call it a day.
Well, he does have the Clockwork Avians, and the Clockwork Avians could be really useful against the Killer Bees and those Emerald Dragonflies, but he's not running Mishra's Workshop. He's not focused on artifacts in this deck. So
yeah, five's a hefty price to pay.
Right.
I mean, I guess in a way though, the Angels were very good against John, so I suppose that the Avians would be as well. So he could take out maybe like the Fountain and I don't know or take out maybe the 2 blight. You know, those blights aren't very good against John either, because he's just playing a bunch of lands and a bunch of creatures. So I don't know. I guess you could use them on Pendlehavens, but
all right, the guys are shuffling up, so I'm going to switch back over to the match. There are quite a few spectators in this match. We've got Christian, Luke Raven, Chris Holzenbeck. We got Brian Burrow, William Linth, Todd Thomas, and Kaylin D. We got 2, 4, 6. We got 7 spectators plus John and Lucas. We got 10 people almost watching this game. It's pretty cool. The whole. I mean,
awesome it's the way that you run this format through Messenger mostly is pretty unique. I don't really see that in any of the other formats. They either are coordinated on Facebook or they're coordinated on Discord. And of course, we have both those things too, but we primarily coordinate through our Facebook Messenger group. And that allows, really real-time stuff. Like, people will, if a match is going to get played, people will get a notification. And that really allows people to jump in and watch matches like this if they're around. We got a lot of spectators for the finals last time. Part of that, of course, was just because Brian Weissman was doing the commentary and people wanted to hear that. But it's nice to have a bunch of people jump in and watch these things. It kind of it adds an extra level of excitement, I think.
Yeah, and it helps create more of a sense of community too. It looks like, did Lucas take a mulligan here? I think he did.
I believe so.
Okay, so he's mulliganing to try to get a better hand, and John starts off again with a forest and no turn 1. I'm really shocked to see that. Ooh, and the City of Brass for Lucas's first land. That's not great. Uh-oh. Turn 2, Whirling Dervish for John to pros. That's bad news for Lucas.
That's yeah, that's something. I mean, what's he gonna do about that?
I don't know. That's gonna be a lot of trouble. He better get an earn amount before it gets to be 5/5. Okay, so the Dervish comes in, hits for 1. It's gonna get a counter on it. Does he have counters to show the Dervish grows? Yeah, he does. There he goes. Okay, Pendlehaven turn 2 for Lucas. That's not great. He really wanted his... he probably wanted his pixies here if he didn't side them out. But now, Wailuli Wolf for John to pros. And double attack. 2 damage from the Dervish and 1 from the Wolf.
Did Lucas miss a land drop, or did John just go for... Well, John went first.
John went first, yeah.
So,
Wolf.
eating in for 3, and his dude gets bumped again. This could be a runaway train.
Yeah, second Wolf for John. Okay, so now Lucas gets a forest, but he doesn't have much to do with 3 mana. He's had no creature drops. So he must.
Well, I mean, if he would have had, well, even his black removal was bad there though, right? Because even if he had a demonic torment, which he could cast, you can't play it on the Dervish. So
right, he needed a Pendlehaven and a Scavenger Folk or something here to block that Dervish.
Triple Wolf!
Whoa!
Look at that.
That's wild.
All the wolf.
All
the time.
The wolf. The wolf pack is in town.
He needs a 3 wolf T-shirt to go with his board there.
Wow, that's heavy. So Lucas is in real trouble here. So what do you, if you're Lucas, what are you thinking right now, John? You're like, I won that first one pretty easy.
I'm thinking I'm dead, and I'm gonna go to game 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't often scoop, but like, this is looking pretty scary.
Yeah. There's what? How many counters on that?
There's 3 counters on it now, so like it's a 4/4. It's gonna be a 5/5. What does he got? What is that?
Looks like the demonic torment.
What is it? That doesn't do anything. Why is he even bothering?
That's all he's got.
Does it? Okay, well, one of the wolves can't attack or block, but it can still pump something.
Yeah.
Or does it say it can't? Or does it say it can't activate its ability? I don't think it says that.
I don't know. Can you look it up? I don't want to switch off the screen here. See what it says.
I'll double check it, but I think it just can't attack or block. Oh look, I've been pointed towards a Christian Reddit group. I think I need to put MTG next to demonic torment. Okay, here we go. Enchanted creature can't attack, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creature. Yeah, so who cares? They'll just tap the wolf to pump something else.
Oh man, he obviously had no better option. He's
just a waste of a card.
Yeah, he only had 3 lands. He can't play Earnham. He's taken. He's down to 3 life. And there's the bees. Yeah, this game is over for Lucas. Holy crap.
Well, this is how I imagined the game 1 playing out, was that he would just get overwhelmed so early by creatures that he just wouldn't be able to do anything. I mean, look at this. He's at 2 now. Like,
well, yeah.
It's game over. The game's over.
Yeah. And
all the cards that he's played have been irrelevant. He's only played 2.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
All right, game 3 it is.
Game 3. Holy crap. Okay, so
yeah, so look, so this is an instance where like him having only a single black would really hurt him, because if he could have played the 2 witches early, he could have at least pinged off some wolves. You know, I mean, the Dervish was a real problem either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game played out exactly how I imagined a game against that deck playing out. So we'll see if the wind blows his way again in game 3.
Okay, well, let's take a quick look at the decks. Are they going to do any sideboarding changing? Looks like they're thinking about it. We can quickly jump back to the decks here, just a minute. Okay, so Lucas, does he need the blights? I don't know. Maybe he.
I don't think they're very good.
I don't think so.
I think he needs. Let me look at his deck list again and see what he may or may not want to sideboard in this final match. I mean, I do think it helps him to be on the play here. He can stay just like a little bit ahead at least of John. Let's see.
I would definitely take out the blights, and honestly, the demonic torments. I don't know. They're only going to be good on the Urnham Djinns or the spinning slugs. He needs more creatures, and he needs more.
Yeah, I think he needs to bring in all 4 of the creatures in his sideboard, even though they're kind of high cost. I mean, I guess there's 5 technically. There's another trike, but God, 6 is just so much when you're playing against a deck with a bunch of.
Yeah, I would take out that. I would take out that Fountain of Youth. I would take out the 2 blights, and I would take out. I don't know. I guess I would take out maybe the 2 of the Underworld Dreams, and yes, I'd put
Suchi kind of feels scary too, though, because he can get
scavenger
up
focus,
with scavenger folk, and then you take mana burn. So like,
yeah,
I don't know. The drops of honey definitely should be in if they aren't already.
All right. Well, the guys are getting back to the match.
Yeah, I mean, John's deck did its thing both games. The difference was that game 1, Lucas just had so much removal that he was able to just, like, almost clear the board and just, like, really keep that garden weeded and play his own stuff, develop his own game, and then come back and smash.
Yeah,
but
really strong. Really strong.
It's hard to do that when the other guy's gunning for you so hard. So let's see here. Let's see a 1-drop. Let's see a Gazban Ogre right here.
Yeah, Gazban Ogre 21. Yeah, there it is. Oh man, you called it. That's hilarious. Yeah, so this is really good. Oh, what is that, Mazavith? How about that?
Oh, the perfect answer. The perfect answer. I mean, it's still though. There's an opportunity cost there, right? Because he didn't play a mana producing land,
right.
So now he's behind again. I mean, Maze is pretty good against Dervish, too, which is nice.
Yeah.
Witches, maybe? Yeah, witches. Okay.
So the witches can hold off the ogre, and the dervish can be held off by the maze. That's pretty good for Lucas.
Ooh, Strip Mine for the maze. Look at how Strip Mine continues to just dominate. It turns the tides of so many of these games.
It really does.
So I guess you just block the ogre and take 1. That really blows. Oh, Dervish number 2. Oh boy. Here we go.
That is a real problem for Lucas.
We don't see a ton of black in this format, especially creature-based decks. A lot of time it's more used for the control angle, just for the removal. And this is one of those scary reasons why, I guess. Not that we see tons of Dervish either, but like he just doesn't really have an answer for those guys.
Right. He can only basically block them with his green creatures to deal damage.
Yeah, I mean, having a 4-drop to block it that might not even be big enough by the time these guys are pumped. It's just not really. Oh, Dervish number 3. Is that what that is?
Shit, yes, that's Dervish number 3.
Come on. Oof. It's not looking good. Not looking good.
Well, this is also one of those scenarios where it's particularly bad matchup.
So are we going to see... Oh, that just feels terrible, because not only can that not block, but now it's going to do an extra point of damage. I don't like that play at all. I mean, I guess it's all he has, but, like, I hate it.
Yeah, you'd prefer an Urnham there, but he's got no green mana now. It's all black, right?
So 5 more coming in, and they all get 1 bigger.
Wow.
I mean, that really is exponential when you've got counters being added to all of them.
That is pretty brutal.
So are we going to see a green deck in the finals of this tournament? That's going to be fun.
That's what it's starting to look like, isn't it?
I think it's really exciting that we like didn't get to see this one ahead of time, because so often we've seen them already, but like we didn't see this match until just now. It's fun to watch it unfold.
Okay, so this Diamond Valley could be at least a way for Lucas to hold on to things. Oh, looky there. There's the avoid fate.
Oh my god. He won't even let him demonic torment his slug because he has a
avoid fate.
As if he already isn't just like completely crushing face.
Right. Yeah, that avoid fate stopped that demonic torment right out of the gate. So, okay, so he's got Diamond Valley. He can gain some life, but these dervish are all huge and getting bigger every turn.
Six or 9, maybe, because those are the counters plus the power. And I think that's actually like almost game. He gains a little extra life.
There's slug number 2. Wow.
It's so sad to see 4 swamps across the table from 3 dervishes.
Yeah, you know he's got Urnums over there and he just can't play them.
So now he's just going to play another dude just to sack him to gain more life. So he's going to take 9 this time and gain 5, so he'll be at 1, I guess. Oh no, he hadn't even rolled those up.
He hadn't put his counters up from last.
He's just dead.
Yeah.
He's just dead.
Oh man, death by dervish.
Whew. Wow.
Oh man. What a rough game that was for Lucas. I mean, this is a case of he just didn't have any green. Look, there's his Elves of Deep Shadow and the Urnums, but no green mana, and he is shut out by the green Stompy.
That was rough.
That was rough. Okay, so green Stompy going to the finals. Lucas Santos knocked out in the semis. John DePros, part of the Four Horsemen Aussie crew. He's going to be heading to the finals. We'll see who he's going to be playing after the other semifinals match is done. If you've watched our other videos, you probably know who that is. And it'll be a really, really cool finals match, I think. All right, John. I think that wraps up Tournament 18 semis, and we are going to the finals in the next video. Thanks for joining me tonight. Cool. Thanks for being with me, John. Appreciate it. And to all of our viewers, thanks for joining us. And we are signing off and saying goodnight. Till next time.
Good night, everybody.